Gotcha Bagoos. Hello. Welcome. Good evening. How do you do? I have returned. Unbidden. Hello. Happy to see a familiar, friendly face. Already. My gosh. And that confirms that the chat window is still working, so that's encouraging. So thank you for helping me to prove that one, Snap. Appreciate it. We've had a interesting week, I guess, overall. I don't know. Just, it's been kind of a sad week, and I want to get the sad stuff out of the way first because, as was sort of the stated intention with the title, the hope here is to relax and chill, but one does feel that one must attend the business, I guess, and the main thing is just not only, of course, did we recently lose Mr. Sam Neill, which is a sad state of affairs for cinephiles who were particularly fond of his library of work. Of course, the Jurassic Park memes are obviously everywhere, which makes sense. It's what he'll be remembered and loved for most, but sadly, unfortunately, we did also lose Kaylee Hottle yesterday, which was just... I don't mean to say anything insensitive, as if, you should stack the tragedy levels of death. But obviously, when you have a gentleman like Sam Neill, who lived a pretty full and amazing life and overcame cancer towards the end of his run, Kaylee was 18, and that just sucks. That sucks hard, and it's very sad, and it changes a lot in your mind. Just it's somebody who is gone that you just sort of took for granted. It's like, oh, they'll be around, they're gonna have a nice... You default to just thinking, yeah, they'll have a nice, happy life ahead of them, and then just boom, car accident, it's over. And she had only just started her life. She, she even only had 3 credits to her acting career, and seemingly was getting through school, I believe, and just had her whole life ahead of her, and was seemingly a very happy and well-adjusted and ambitious young lady, and then it's over. And it is incumbent upon us, I think, to take that moment to think about it and to remember. And for those of us who, of course, are in the kaiju genre fandom, and our introduction to her was through the MonsterVerse, it unfortunately just does create that extra level of somber awareness when we go back and watch some of these films, which, frankly, she was the best part of, those 2 in particular that she was in. Like, she made me love Kong. She actually made me care about the giant ape who, up until the MonsterVerse, I always had just sort of a, like, yeah, he's cool, but I'm not terribly invested in Kong. Well, the character Gia made me really like Kong. It really pushed him over into me just being like, yeah, I dig the big boy now. I understand a little bit more. So it's very sad. Usually when something hits me hard enough, I will take the liberty of making some sort of a little memorial artwork or just something to kind of flush my system a little bit of the emotions I'm feeling at the time. So I did whip this together yesterday. It's silly, it's simple, but I don't know, I didn't want to try to draw her again, because I did do a little doodle of her years ago, and I was like, it's okay, but I just thought something a little more indirect within my means, within my strengths. The wording at the top is just from the Hollies song that's at the end of Godzilla vs. Kong, and it just suddenly hit very different when I thought about it, because she was literally a silent person, a silent angel. and it just it left me very reflective yesterday and very thoughtful, very bittersweet. Just being like, yeah, she left an amazing mark on the world and an amazing impression on life for as short as it was, but it really just sucks that it was so short. So just won't be able this was a piece I bought several years ago. I want to say 2022 at Godzilla Fest, because this is a Bob Eggleton piece. Bob Eggleton, who I will die on the hill of being the greatest kaiju illustrator ever. But he had met her at some convention they went to, and apparently they became fast friends, and she signed a whole bunch of these pieces, which he then brought to G-Fest. And I was hoping someday, when she was growing up and out of school and maybe just interested in doing such things, that she might want to attend G-Fest and get the chance to meet her and just share that moment, like I've thankfully been able to do with a lot of faces in the Toho and Monsterverse universes, and just be like, hey, you're awesome, and it was fun watching you. So that's no longer going to be a thing, but I am extra grateful now that Bob provided these pieces for us that we could take, and just a little tiny piece of Kaylee to take home and just appreciate her all the more, but that's all we're going to get now. So just unfortunately, I mean, she was great. She walked with the Titans. Somebody pointed out on Instagram today, she's the only character in the history of the franchise who succeeded in befriending Godzilla, Mothra, and Kong. Basically, just because she was her. And I was like, that's a really cool thought. I mean, she kind of did become the replacement Mothra fairy of sorts for New Empire, and I feel like that's extra appropriate now. So, yeah. Anyway, just walk with God, Kaylee. Sounds like she was awesome, and that's unfortunately just kind of the essence of this week's bad news, which it sucks, and I wish we didn't have to start on a somber note, but I knew I would be remiss to not mention it and to not just get that out of the system a little bit. So rest in peace, Kaylee, and thank you for being awesome and being you. But in other news, to hopefully slant towards a little bit more, just a little bit more cheerful. I made an active effort this week to really start working on my therapy exercises again. It's just something that I've tried my best to. Excuse me. I've tried my best to keep on my exercises and the therapy pillows and the various things that I have to do to help my condition, but to be honest, sometimes therapy is also incredibly exhausting and hurtful, and it just discourages you when you're in the middle of it and it doesn't really feel like it's getting you anywhere. So I kind of abandoned some of my therapy exercises for a while, but I've been making an effort this week to get back on track and to just do my damnedest, and I'm still having a lot of pain, especially at work, but I feel like I'm on that edge where things are a little bit better. So maybe that's because I'm finally being smart and getting back to those things, but who knows? It's the problem with going through physical therapy and trying to fix your issues is that you never know exactly what's working and what's not until you get 2020 perspective and can look back on the big picture. So we shall simply have to see. But in other hopefully more hopeful things, I was encouraged this year because I realized it has been almost 3 years since I took part in Inktober. For those of you who aren't aware of what that is, Inktober is just a social media challenge where you basically are just making artwork, like a picture a day, whether digital or with physical ink, where you're drawing a picture in black and white inks. And I guess you can color it too if you really want to take the effort. But you can do inked imagery, and the challenge is to upload one a day throughout the month of October. And I hadn't done it since 2023 because life is busy. You get to doing a lot of things, and especially this year while I'm trying to reinvigorate the art passion again and just get back on top of things, I was like, you know what, we need to do Inktober again. So I've been plotting and scheming to make a list of things that will make for fun Inktober material. But I was looking back through the last round of Inktober stuff that I did, and honestly, a lot of it was fun. Some were way better than others. I have selected an approved list of highlight images to show because just because I make something doesn't necessarily mean I'm proud of it. But that 2023, of course, was the year -1 came out, so I was particularly enthusiastic and pretty happy with this one. A Michael Keaton Batman, which allowed for something I don't do enough of, which is contrasts of lots of black to white. It's a great comic book visual, especially, which all of the artists who are substantially better than me have exercised for a very long time, but I always find myself weirdly just lacking in that department. I don't tend to be incredibly active with it, so I definitely need to be. I need to challenge myself to do more of stark black and white. But it was just, what's fun about Inktober is it allows you to do pieces that you might not necessarily be all that, they might not be in your normal wheelhouse, or they might not be things that you would otherwise take the time for if you're busy and preoccupied with other things. So this was just one of my favorites because I do love Spider-Man. Like, he's not one of my top tier. I'm radical about him, so I have to watch every single show and collect all the toys. But I loved the 1994 show. I do love the movies. I have a handful of comics, but my favorite, I suppose, obvious reasons, but my favorite villain was the Lizard, and I loved the 94 Spidey cartoon immensely, so I was very happy to have an excuse to do something as much in the style of the Spider-Man comics as I remembered when I was growing up and when I was collecting them. This was another fun one with the stark black. So if you're not familiar with this visual, there's an incredibly old Jimmy Stewart movie from, I want to say, the late 40s, maybe right at the beginning of the 50s, called Harvey, and it's based on a play of the same name that he played on Broadway. And it's just a charming, bizarre, quirky, fun little movie, just kind of exploring the idea of harmless weirdos, which I suppose resonated with me because I like to think that I'm a little bit of a harmless weirdo. But he's a man who tells everybody that he sees an invisible rabbit, and the rabbit is like 6.5 feet tall and talks to him, but nobody else can see the rabbit, so of course they're like, well, he's nuts. we should have him committed. And they kind of realize that in spite of his eccentricities, he's a very charming individual and a very nice man, and maybe sometimes you just kind of need to look the other way when people are weird, as long as they're not bad weird. You know, it's just kind of a good thing. This is one of my characters from an old mini-comic, or not mini-comic, a webcomic I did for a few years. It was a superhero comic called The Gallant Girls, and pretty much the runaway popular character was this lady named Teeny. He was, teeny tiny, and she's huge, and but everybody loved the big old muscle mama. Can't imagine why. So it just, I do like the amusing contrast in sizes and just people who are awkward and kind of giant. I mentioned the last stream that one of my favorite characters on the Trigun anime was Millie, because she's just this big, strong, tall, awkward sweetheart. And I think that definitely played into the creation of this character a little bit, because it was just funny and charming. Just have a big, nice girl who's also good. She's Hulk-sized and she can punch her way through a wall. Another favorite during that Inktober was Porco Rosso, because I adore Studio Ghibli. And if you have never seen Porco Rosso, I honestly will tell you it is one of the most overlooked and underrated of Miyazaki's library. And saying a Miyazaki movie or a Ghibli movie in general is underrated is kind of a false statement, because they are so well loved and they're all so adored within various levels of adoration. It's like, if you have one of those rank tier lists where everything is S tier, A tier, C tier, and then bottom of the barrel garbage, like, for most people, when they're just talking movies and anime in general, like, Ghibli will still be in most people's A and S tiers. So it's like saying Porco Rosso is overlooked or not given the attention it deserves is still talking about what most people would consider an A tier movie. It's not in the huge S tier list that most people hold Hayao Miyazaki's work or the work of the other Studio Ghibli directors. But Porco, honestly, is probably my second favorite Ghibli film, because it's just amazing, and it's such good character work, and it's charming, and it's mature, but without being obscenely adult or concerningly adult. But it still deals with mature themes and a very interesting self-loathing character, which is something that I think some of the most interesting movies deal with, is somebody who struggles with self-loathing and their vision of self-worth and how they regard themselves, because a lot of us have gone through that. A lot of us have struggled with hating ourselves and not being happy in our skin, or not being happy with where life has taken us, or not liking who we were, and so we let it weigh down upon us that we're not, I don't know, that we have regrets, or we just have whatever reasons, warranted or no, to not like ourselves. And Porco really spoke to me on that. Just a guy who, he does good, but he's crass and he's selfish, but he's completely capable of just being a good man, and his worst enemy is just himself, because he thinks so little of himself for such often, typically stupid reasons. But it's an amazing movie, and if you've never seen Porco Rosso, I recommend it in a heartbeat. Like, either version, dub or sub, because the dub is actually pretty good. Once again, we got Michael Keaton. He's the English voice dub. And funny enough, on the French version of the film, Jean Reno, the famous French actor who was in a bunch of stuff in the 90s, but of course famously was the French agent in the 98 Godzilla film, he is the voice of Porco. And apparently Miyazaki liked him quite a lot in the part. This was just a random one I threw in here for the heck of it, but one of my favorite recent animes, because I don't watch a lot. I really don't watch a lot of anime anymore. I just don't have the time, but I did commit to watching Tomo-chan as a girl, and I really enjoyed it a lot. Okay, that was the end of my examples, but I love Inktober. It was a heck of a lot of fun the last time I did it, and I would like to do it again. It just... You commit to doing anything for 30, 31 days straight, and it does start to become a little bit of a challenge and a chore, which I guess is why they call it the Inktober Challenge. But, you know, it's just nice to kind of want to flex your muscles, or stretch your muscles a little bit. And it's a good excuse to do so. So, yeah, I am going to make the attempt, going to make the effort, and, hopefully we'll get it done this year. I do have a much broader, a hopeful broader number of topics and characters that I would like to cover than I sometimes resort to. But you know, I think the last time I did pretty well. Actually, I think I spread it out nicely as far as how many different shows, characters, topics, whatever I integrated into the last Inktober. So that's the plan for that. But that's a little ways off, but honestly I figured out you gotta prep beforehand, because otherwise it sneaks up on you and you're not ready, and yeah, being prepared is half the battle. Is that none, or knowing is half the battle, yeah. And then having a decent amount of prep work really helps you out in the long run. Excuse me. I didn't hit the mute button fast enough on that. What else is going on? Doodly-doo-doo-doo-doo. Still kind of buzzing off of G-Fest a little bit, and I'm still very happy to say that one of my happiest things about this G-Fest really was just the fact that we got a lot closer to a lot of people, and just, you know, made a lot deeper connections. And one, because you have your core of friends who you usually look forward to meeting up with, and I did that. But this year I feel like thankfully we're able to strengthen some bonds a little bit, and this year in particular I was very happy to sort of focus in a little bit more on some other people within the spread of the friends group, and in particular our buddy Ethan, Epic Toxie. If you're a kaiju fan and you're in the collecting space, I'd say check him out. He is a crazy collector in a ballpark that puts me to shame, and bless him for it. He knows what he likes and he goes for it, and his videos are fun, his reviews are fun. I haven't seen all of his library, but Ethan's a good dude, and very, very knowledgeable, far more knowledgeable than I about the hobby of kaiju figure collecting, which is probably for the best, because if I knew more about it than I already do, I would probably be absolutely purely destitute. But no, we love Ethan. He's an awesome lad. So if you get the chance, if you're interested in such things, by all means check out his channel. We might, who knows, if he's cool with it, we might even react to some of Ethan's content at some point, just for funsies, because it would be, he had some pretty good video on the convention and on the collecting side of things, which I am a very passionate kaiju collector. I love figures. I love making customs and figures, and I love the artistic side of the hobby, which I do consider the figures to be a part of the artistic side of things because they're 3D rendered sculptures and whatever. But yeah. That's a good segue, I guess. Speaking of the kaiju figures and the kaiju sculpting and whatnot, I did get in the last part of the new wave of the Godzilla the Series monsters that Zero Toys released this year, and it was kind of a bittersweet little thing because years ago, 10 years ago I think it even was, or close to it, I started making little custom figurines of the monsters from that cartoon series because I was just like, they're never going to touch these. Like, Bandai is never going to release them. No other company is going to bother because the cartoon is even more niche than the kaiju genre in general. So who's actually going to release these things? So I just started doing it myself because, as the good saying goes, fans do the best work when they have no other option. And that's what I did, was just started making my own clay figures, which at the jump they sucked, and I can admit that without any hesitation. Was at the outset, my clay figures sucked, and I wouldn't say they're high art now, but at least I feel that they have improved, at least improved to some reasonable degree. But it got me a little sentimental because I was just like, I now have 4 new figures to essentially replace the ones that I made myself, because I never thought that I would have legitimate ones to enjoy. And I took some pictures comparing the figures that I made to the ones that I got, and boom. So this was the first one I did, the C-Rex, because it was the first opponent monster in the 98 cartoon series. And it's not the worst thing in the universe, but I was working with this experimental clay that I'd never tried before. It was very hard to handle, very awkward to handle, so it was just kind of a pain in the ass and didn't quite come together the way I wanted it to. But for 10 years, this essentially was my only C-Rex figure. And now, look at this thing. Look at this beast. It's just so cool. After wanting figures of this show for 30 years, they have now finally made figures of this show. And it just makes me happy. It just actually makes me so friggin' happy that I can hold them in my hands. But it did make me a little sentimental about the ones I made. The Cryptocleidos was always one of my favorites, and I loved it a lot. And funny enough, in some ways, my version of it is more accurate to the show than the actual show, because for some reason they didn't add on his little frontal legs here. I don't know why. They easily could have just sculpted those up against the chest if they were concerned about them sticking out too much. I don't know what the deal was. Weird oversight. Maybe they were looking at weird pictures that didn't hid the arms. I have no idea. But overall, it's a great sculpt. It definitely evokes the look of the cartoon character in 3 dimensions, but this one, I guess, was the most disappointing for me because they did just kind of miss the sculpt a little bit, and it just makes it that much more annoying. It's like, oh, come on, man. This is probably the only figure, legitimate vinyl figure of this character that we may ever see, and for some reason it just is missing pieces of its body because there's spikes on the tail too that's not there, and the colors are a little odd. But overall, I'm very, very happy with it. The C-Rex, the Crypto, the Chameleon, and I'd say the Chameleon was probably one of my best ones I'd made from the show. I put a lot of work into that one. It was especially difficult to get that open mouth on the chest, but I was very happy with it. But even though not every single detail is nailed here, I still am just over the moon and thrilled that these exist at all, and I'm extremely glad to Zero Toys that they made these. And then everyone's the favorite and the one that sold out actually did sell out at G-Fest, because they did have leftovers of the others at the tables, which surprised me because I thought they'd get eaten up a lot quicker. But the Cyberzilla sold out, and that doesn't really surprise me, because if you're a fanboy, especially a fanboy on a budget, and you're collecting figures for your Godzilla the Series niche collection, you're going to go with the most popular, or the main characters, the most primary characters first. And yeah, the fanboys didn't disappoint. They went for Cyberzilla here, and it is a gorgeous looking figure, and I do love it. Mine weirdly does capture other details that, again, they seem to have missed, or maybe they were just working off of other screenshots, because animation can be famously and notoriously inaccurate from time to time. So I don't know what exactly was going on here, but overall it looks exactly like how it should, and it's still a great looking rendition of the character. Excuse me again. So overall, yeah, I'm very happy with these, and I feel thrilled, and just especially it's dream and wish fulfillment that after 30 years almost since the original cartoon debuted, they're making figures of these guys, and they look good. And unlike the canceled Trendmasters series that would have had a little bit more of an artistic spin on these are pretty animation accurate. Not the cheapest things in the world, because they're a limited run and made by a small toy company that just kind of digs deep and makes the deep cut characters that Bandai and other companies won't. So that's a factor as well, but I'm still immensely happy that Zero Toys has gone to the effort, and I hope they do a Wave 3, and I have some definite thoughts about who I would like to see in a Wave 3. But that's for another day, I suppose. As far as my own customs and things that I have planned for the upcoming future, because I'm a little bit of a scatterbrain, I did take the liberty of making a list, just so I don't forget things. But I do have upcoming custom projects that I'm very much looking forward to doing in my leisure time, because that's the thing for me, clay figures and sculpting and all of that business is a very relaxing leisure activity. It's not just because I'm a collector fanboy, it is also because it just actually honestly is relaxing, and it's a nice way to spend time with Mrs. Stegman, just sitting, watching some stuff, working on little clay sculptures while I sit there. It's pleasant. It's enjoyable. So, a sneak peek, if you will, of things upcoming for the future. Nope. There we go. The Cloverfield monster has long been missing from my collection because, talking about kaiju that never get merchandise, there was one official figure of this guy back in the day when the movie released, and even then it was like an online store exclusive and quickly got scalped. And there are 3D printed figures of him out there, and print files that you can get that aren't terrible, but I'm not really, for this particular dude, I'm just like, you know what, I can make one myself, and I can make it pennies on the dollar for what it would cost. So Clovey is on the short list. This is a weird one that I know a lot of people, especially in my kaiju circles, are not gonna know, but this is just a favorite character and a little favorite mini-series that I'm particularly fond of. It's called The Scarecrow of Romney Marsh, Dr. Sin. It was a book series that Walt Disney adapted in the 60s into like a 3-episode miniseries, and the episodes were like 3 hours long, or 3 hours. The whole thing was about 3 hours long. The episode's about an hour apiece, but it's just one of those little things that's been kind of lost to time, and a lot of people don't know about because, first of all, it's Disney television from the 60s. Second of all, it's a niche book franchise that is kind of a very niche subgenre itself, which is kind of pre-Revolutionary War action adventure. And that's not really something I'm into either, but something I am into is scarecrows. I love scarecrows. I think the iconography of scarecrows is awesome. I love horror movies with scarecrows. I did a terrible webcomic years ago about a girl that gets cursed and turned into a scarecrow. So, seems to be a theme with me, I guess, and weirdly enough, girls getting cursed. It's not a slam, I swear. It's an interesting character study. But Dr. Sin is a character I would like to render as a figure at some point. This is also a very weird deep cut, but it's a creature called the Pegasaurus. It's from a line of essentially He-Man knockoffs called the Galaxy. The fans of it essentially call it the Galaxy Hole, but it's Galaxy Warriors, Galaxy Defenders, whatever the line is, but it's a bunch of knockoff toys of Masters of the Universe, and I don't give a crap about any of the Muscle Monster figures from any of that, but I thought the Pegasaurus was rad. Unfortunately, though, it is unbelievably expensive, and I told myself, okay, I can make this, again, for pennies on the dollar, because I can make a large clump of artisan Sculpey clay that costs about $20 a block, and I can take that and turn it into usually anywhere between 6 to 10 full-size, decent clay projects, figure projects. And this one will be a little bit on the larger side, but I can still make it for an absolute fraction of what it would be like to just actually buy the real thing. So that is my agenda. That's my plan. I'm just going to make my own version of it, and eventually you will see it. I actually started working on this one a while ago, but just a little diorama of 2 of the greatest characters ever made in literary fantasy, and I don't just mean in Middle-earth, but I mean period. Beren and Luthien from the Silmarillion. I defy anyone to tell me a greater fantasy love story than Tolkien's Beren and Luthien. I mean, I'm not the most well-read dinosaur in the entire world, but just there's something immaculate and pure to me, and just amazingly epic about just, if the Silmarillion, like if you don't read anything else in the Silmarillion, you can still essentially read the tale of Beren and Luthien, and it's still awesome. Like, you might be a bit confused on some of the details, particularly with the Dark Lord and the elves and the Silmarils themselves, but by itself even, Beren and Luthien is just an amazing epic. And I wanted to commemorate it in my own way with a little clay diorama, and someday I will finish it. Because unfortunately I did start and it got pushed to the back burner because life got in the way, and that's unfortunately the way it goes. But back on the long-running tradition of making Godzilla the series figures, because the companies won't, there are still a whole bunch of monsters in that show that will probably never get an action figure treatment. And one of them that the one that I'm planning next is the Deep Dweller. It was a later series creature, and a unique one, because it's not often you just encounter a kaiju that is just a fish, but there it is. And it was an interesting one, kind of a goofy one. How many Godzilla monsters have such pronounced, luscious kissable lips. But that's the Deep Dweller, and it actually reminded me of one that I'd made before from the MonsterVerse Godzilla Dominion graphic novel. But there was a creature called the Murder Fish, which Godzilla briefly encounters before he rips the thing's frickin' spine out, all Predator style, and mutilated the Murder Fish. But this was actually one I was really happy with, because the thing came together. Like, whatever magical blessing I am given sometimes that my little clay figurines don't just straight up suck, this one was thankfully touched by that ethereal magic, because honestly I feel like it turned out pretty rad, and I am happy with it. But yeah, it made me think of the Deep Dweller, because though not quite as complicated as the Murder Fish, it's still a little bit of work to do something with no legs, because it needs something to stand on and for the display and all that. But yeah, I actually already have this guy half finished, so I look forward to posting that at some point in the near future as well. So there we go. There's my ridiculous schedule of custom projects, which my desire and my overall goal... Oh, and yeah, just I forgot to mention, because I don't have a picture of them, but I would also like to make a couple of chibi figures of Mako and Raleigh from Pacific Rim, because sadly the humans in the Pacific Rim world have no figures either. And if you're going to make figures of anybody, you got to make Mako, Raleigh, and maybe someday, if I enjoy the experience enough making them, I'll try to include Stacker Pentecost as well, because let's be honest, Idris Elba in that movie was absolutely friggin' boss. Yeah. We don't talk about the sequel. Anyway, I do intend to do that as well. But beyond that, yeah, always keeping a bit busy with the custom pieces, because they do make me happy. They are very helpful on the stress relief, and they look nice on the shelf. Yeah. What else is going on? I do plan in the near future, I want to get back to gaming. Kind of derailed that for a little bit because getting ready for G-Fest and some other things, but Subnautica is about to release an update, so I will probably jump back in after they release the update so that we can take full advantage of that. And I wasn't expecting an update so soon, but there it is. Pacific Rim 2 fan chat. Okay. Welcome. Welcome, War of the Worlds, man. Okay, look. I am not I will not be a hypocrite. I own the movie. I love Pacific Rim, and I will not say it is a piece of trash, because it's not. Even B movies and even stinkers have their qualities. But I love Pacific Rim 1 with an intensive passion. I cry watching that movie, and it meant a lot when it came out. So obviously expectations were set very high for a sequel, and you know, sometimes your expectations get a little too high, or the movie itself just does not deliver. I think in this case it was a bit of both. I still own it. I will still watch it again in the future. It is not garbage, but there's a reason that Pacific Rim 1 is on my top 20 favorite movies lists of all time, and Pacific Rim 2 is not. And that's no smack on its fans. You are absolutely welcome to enjoy it more than I do. I just wish it'd been just a few touches better, and I do wish that they would at least. Pacific Rim 2 is amazing. Pacific Rim 2 is like in Showa Godzilla vs. Megalon sort of way. I love Charlie Day in it. final fight is pretty good in my opinion. I mean, that's fair. They went the extra mileage on the fights, and that's Pacific Rim 1. Well, dude, I was just about to give you that wiggle room and just say, yeah, they clearly tried on the fights, and there are good things to say about Pacific Rim 2, but it's just what killed it for me in particular was just, I adore Mako and Raleigh, like really, really love Mako and Raleigh, so killing her off hurt, man. That just that wrenched my guts. So it's hard. It makes it difficult to go back and endure that whole thing. Just especially but on the other hand, thanks. If you've ever seen the review by Pointless Hub, who is a YouTube channel I love, and if you're here and you love kaiju, you probably know Pointless Hub, but the dude is awesome, and he made a very, very good review of the Pacific Rim films, and he pointed out that it was Del Toro's idea to change the plot points the way that he did, or that some of the ideas happened the way that they eventually manifested. And he had some very interesting ideas for what was going to happen. So Charlie Day turning evil was part of his plan, and I don't fault the movie for that. Like, again, there's things in there that I know were part of the agenda, and they weren't necessarily bad things. It just always came down to execution. But I don't like to cry too hard over spilled milk, so I won't rail on it forever. But just saying, when I do get around to making the little chibi Mako and Raleigh clay figures, that's probably going to be it, minus maybe adding Stacker in there at some point. If I decide if I can manage under his direction, it probably would have felt different for sure. Yeah, I mean, Del Toro is very much an artiste, an auteur kind of director, so it really would have felt. It would have felt more like his signature for sure. And I do love every movie of his I've seen to varying degrees. Like, I haven't seen his whole library, but even the ones of his that I've not wanted to watch again, I did enjoy them. I don't feel necessarily inclined to watch Pan's Labyrinth again, because that was an excellent movie, but an incredibly hard movie to watch. And it just kind of broke me a little too much, so I probably won't revisit that one, but I would have loved in another world to see his version of Pacific Rim 2 and to see his Hellboy trilogy completed, but as the viral video goes, it is what it is. Let me get the art actually rolling here so I can yap and draw rather than just sitting here flapping my gums the whole time. But doop. Where in the heck, Ramsey, did I put my... There we go. I think. There we go. We have a cursor. Sweet. And boom. So, our speaking of chibis, our subject matter for this week, just because there's a story behind this, more than just me drawing silly cutesy-wootsy kaiju, but this is our subject for the week, is Chibi Anguirus and a chibified Shimo. But, what was I going to say? Doop-a-doo. This has been also quite an interesting week for trailers since the last time I streamed, because I mentioned it last time, there are not a lot of movies that I get out to anymore, and it just boils down largely to the fact that not only are movies just more expensive, and I have to travel a pretty fair distance to get to a good theater. So that unfortunately is a consideration that I have to deal with, but just I haven't felt motivated or inspired to want to see a lot of movies in theater. So, color me pleasantly surprised that at the end of this year is actually going to be stacking up some pretty interesting stuff that, to be perfectly honest, I'm pretty excited about for a change. And I mean, I mentioned earlier I do still love Spider-Man, no matter what ups and downs the MCU has. One thing that will always be constant is I do love Spidey, and I am very interested and hopeful that Brand New Day will be a solid entry in the cinematic world of the web slinger. But that's July. That's like a week from now, isn't it? Yeah, frick, man, we're a little over a week. We're almost on that. But anything else really for the rest of the year, I wasn't too concerned with going out to the theater again, because other than Godzilla Minus Zero, which is obvious, I'm gonna go and support that and enjoy my favorite fandom. But I've been genuinely shocked how much stuff is actually coming out that has genuinely piqued my interest. And I missed out on, a lot of people really liked Backrooms and Obsession, and I've heard they're quite good, but again, just not really the kind of stuff that I'm going to go out of my way to see in a theater. But unless like maybe family or friends really want to go. I did go to He-Man because my little brother is a huge fan of the Masters of the Universe franchise. I was like, yeah, I'll go with my brother. And it was actually enjoyable. Like, by and large, I really did enjoy that movie. And the soundtrack was radical. I loved it. It's like just good, simple, basic fantasy, synth rock, 80s style kind of stuff. Like, genuinely very enjoyable. Fingers crossed. Yes, I hope very much fingers crossed on Spidey, which I think they're careful with Spidey because he's kind of Sony's golden goose in the comic book world, so I don't think they're going to easily dick him up, but we shall see. But other than Godzilla Minus Zero, I actually, and enjoying He-Man relatively well. I actually was kind of excited to see Street Fighter, to be perfectly honest. I was like, you know what? This looks like goofy fun, like reasonably enjoyable goofy fun that's hopefully striking a good balance between the nostalgic and the silly. And I could go for more of that, because that's kind of what He-Man was, just old flavor, silly with just enough heart to not make it forgettable trash. And again, an awesome soundtrack. So I'm kind of hopeful for the same with Street Fighter. It'll just be really solid fun. And then I was reminded today, because they released a new trailer for it, but Clayface has a movie coming out in October as well. And here's the thing, I am a Batman fan, but I've never liked any of DC and Warner's efforts to try and make Batman media that centers on characters without him, like his rogues gallery. That's why I didn't stick with Gotham, because I was like, I don't care about watching baby Bruce Wayne and all of the villains are coming about and engaging in their villainy long before the Bat exists. It kind of drives me nuts as a very long time Batman fan. But Clayface does intrigue me, because kind of going with the horror aspect and the body horror thing, and he is an interesting character with a good story to tell, which they might be able to pull off. I'm looking forward to the end of Oak Street, waiting for the Jurassic Monopoly to end for the big budget dinosaur movies. Yeah, that was weird. That was a weird one. I had no clue going into that trailer what to expect at all. And then we're watching it and I'm just like, wait, what? Obi-Wan and his family surviving dinosaurs in suburbia? Okay. Like, I'm all for weird. I'm all for people trying new and unique things. So if that's the route that they want to go, then by all means, let's do weird. It's just, the problem is when you do something that weird, you have to deliver. And you have to nail the landing. So I wish them well. I hope that they do in fact nail said landing, but that's a high bar you have to meet when you're like dysfunctional weird family in a area being invaded by dinosaurs or whatever. I just finished a novel called Batman Resurrection. It's set in the Tim Burton Batverse, and Clayface is one of the attacks. Oh, dude! Hey, Darth, by the way, welcome in. Glad you are here. And thank you for reminding me of that. I have had Batman Resurrection on my Amazon wish list to get forever. And I keep forgetting to grab it and to actually check it out because, yes, I am all about seeing if people are up to the challenge of expanding the Tim Burton verse of Batman and making it authentic feeling and interesting. So hell yeah, like I had no idea that they introduced Clayface into that story, so thank you. That's all the more motivation now for me to, because Clayface is one of my favorite Batman characters. Like I know it's typical. You ask a normie, like, who's your favorite Batman character? And like the average moviegoer or whatever, it's gonna be like, oh, I love the Joker, oh, I love Two-Face or whatever. Like they're gonna go for a lot more of the obvious ones, and I love those characters too. But I love Scarecrow, I love Clayface, I love Ra's al Ghul. You want me to spoil who the main villain is? Nah. Let me enjoy that one, because I know the idea is supposed to be that the Joker is somehow back, but obviously that's not possible. So there's obviously shenanigans going on. So I do want to at least enjoy it for what it is and take in the mystery of it, because, you know, a lot of the best Batman stories are legitimate detective mysteries. So I will try and prioritize obtaining that, because again, it's been on my Amazon wish list forever, and my family has not seen fit at any Christmas or birthday to be like, oh yeah, let's buy him the Batman thing, which, you know, that's fine. I'm not entitled to it, but I'm just like, oh, come on, guys, it's pretty cheap. You could just grab that one for me. But whatever. The Joker is back, and Clayface is one of the characters. Goes how that. Okay, I mean, fair enough. Though that does kind of feel funny enough. Like somebody who is a big fan of Arkham City said, "Hey, why don't we take the Arkham City plot twist and run it through the Tim Burton what's the word I'm looking for? My stupid brain. The Tim Burton filter. Yeah, let's do that." So, all right. Well, spoilers, I suppose, but whatever. It's not going to ruin my day. I was about to say that's Arkham City. Yeah, because he's literally the final boss fight. They stole the Arkham City boss fight and turned it secret villain and turned it into a rip-off. Whatever. It's cool. I will still enjoy it. Oh, dude, if you want a really fun time with something Tim Burton Batman related that not a lot of people know about. See, the Burton vs. Clayface isn't the shape-shifting blob monster, he's more like the classic Clayface. Yeah, so the Carlo one. Which that was something else I was interested in with this new movie. I was just like, okay, so the first trailer seemingly established that he was going to be an actor or a public figure, but which Clayface were they going to go with? Was it going to be Basil Carlo? Was it going to be more like the animated series and have it be Matthew Hagen playing the same role as Basil Carlo? And yeah, the new trailer confirmed that it is in fact Matt Hagen, which I'm glad for that. That means they didn't just make up a new stupid name and just call him Clayface. But it is Matt Hagen. He is an actor. He's a celebrity figure. And yeah, I'm actually really intrigued and very hopeful about this, because I don't care about the current state of the James Gunn DC universe. Like, I've never been much of a Superman fan. I like him with other heroes, not by himself. So to me, it's like, hey, you know, they could actually do this well, and it could be a really interesting horror movie and a good adaptation of the character. I hope, I pray, especially since he is one of my favorites. Is the Clayface movie a one-off or is it part of the new DCU? So that's the confusing part. Originally, supposedly, from what we understand, it was supposed to be like a one-off within the Robert Pattinson universe. Supposedly. This is just what I've heard, because I do follow some channels that claim to have inside sources that tell them these things, so take it with a grain of salt. But supposedly, it was originally conceived as a side story to the Matt Reeves universe, much like the Penguin, and then James Gunn took over as the head of DC Productions, and supposedly he has integrated it into his Superman universe, his main DCU, which I'm like, okay, why? If it's going for a horror vibe and a much darker spin on the character, to me that feels way more like it fits within the Batman and the Matt Reeves side of things. But that's just what I heard, is that it is supposedly officially part of the James Gunn verse, and apparently is also chronologically going to be the first movie in that universe, so it's actually a prequel to Superman and Supergirl and everything else that's come out, everything else that's come out before it. I'm looking forward to Batman Revolution. That one, from what I heard, introduces Burton versus Riddler and Killer Moth. Yeah, I noticed that too, so I think I wish listed that one, which, hey, again, I'm all for it. I do need to also catch up on the DC Comics releases of Batman 89, which made, Lando Calrissian, Billy D. Williams, that did make Billy D. Williams into Two-Face and introduced a bunch of old school celebrities as the Batman villain roster, and actually did the Wayans brother version of Robin. So I've been curious about that for a while as well, but again, just I get so much in a mode that I want to catch up on all these things within my different fandoms, and then life just gets in the way so badly. I see Chibi Anger's, hey Sonic, buddy, welcome in. And yes, you do see a Chibi Anger's. So before I forget, there is a story behind this. So every Godzilla Fest that I go to, our favorite habit while we are there is to literally just loiter around in the lobby area of the convention hotel and just chat with friends, meet new people, just help newbies to feel comfortable that they're going to be okay. There's a lot of noobs come and just like, I don't know what to do, I feel overwhelmed. And usually while I'm sitting there and while we're chatting with people, I'll just whip out a sketch pad and some artwork and just start doodling. So see if they keep expanding the Burtonverse, Tim Burton movies are usually about social misfits and whether or not they can fit into society. Who fits that perfect Killer Croc? I mean, you're not wrong. Killer Croc works very well. I mean, a lot of the villains are broken social misfits that would have had good, or at least very interesting, Burton interpretations. So I do want to see how these novels do. And I get so easily sidetracked. It's not your guys' fault. I'm very grateful to all of you for chiming in and being engaging. It actually makes me happy because I hate feeling like I'm just talking like I'm late. Sorry, I'm late, been busy. No problem, brother. I'm grateful you are here. The only thing you really missed was just we paid our respects to Kaylee Hoddle, and I just talked about a lot of the clay figures I want to make, which I guess funny enough considering we were just talking about Clayface. But I doodle these pictures while we're at G-Fest for people, just kind of for funsies. We kind of brainstorm ideas, and far and away the most popular one this year while we were doodling was this silly little chibi I sketched up of Anguirus with Shimo, and Anguirus just basically looking at her and just kind of being like,
"Oh, you're really cute. Would you date me?"
Just sort of a thing like that. Yeah, viewers, Steamboo? What? Uh-oh. Okay, apparently we have some sort of a bot that tried entering chat. Interesting. Yay, I must rate somehow. I'm getting bots. But yeah, this was the most popular one. People really seem to like this one. So I was like, alright, I will turn that into a full-fledged digitally inked and colored picture for stream. So that's why you get me doodling chibi kaiju here. Red Hood sneaks in, Joker and Misfit, that's amusing. I mean, yeah. But no, what I was going to say before I forget, because I'm so easily distracted, in a good way, but still, my brain is not good at staying on track. If you want something really funny to just take in for Burton versus Batman, I hugely recommend, because it's on YouTube, or at least it was as of a few months ago. You can go on YouTube and you can listen to the audiobook version of Batman 89 read by none other than Roddy freaking McDowell, aka Caesar from the Planet of the Apes movies, aka the Mad Hatter from Batman the Animated Series, aka the Bookworm from the Adam West Batman cartoon, aka a crap ton of things, because Roddy McDowell was a legendary character in old Hollywood and just awesome in general. But listening to Roddy McDowell, Caesar, reading the audiobook abridgment of Batman 89 is both fascinating and hella funny. Because, if you know who Roddy McDowell is, or if you've watched his Planet of the Apes movies, you know that he had a very gentle little British voice, and it was very soft, you see, and very, very, very charming, very genteel. And so but he could also sound, pardon the pun, batshit insane, and very, very funny. And his performance reading for the Batman 89 novel adaptation is just hilarious and charming and bizarre, and I love it. I like the part I remember most, and this is so silly to say, but it's just because it just had me in stitches while I was listening, because I was listening to it while I was at my, at the time, second job. So I was just trudging through a night of just menial garbage work and just needed a booster to my spirits. And Roddy McDowell was reading the part of Batman 89 where the Joker and his goons enter the art museum. And so he's talking about them breaking in and defacing the paintings and whatever, but he was also describing the fact that they brought in music and were dancing to the music. And so he just kept going on and on, interrupting the flow of the dialogue and just saying stuff like, and so they were throwing paint on the paintings and the music continued, boom shakalaka laka, boom shakalaka laka, and then the Joker was laughing while he was doing this and that, and boom shakalaka laka, boom shakalaka laka. I was just dying, man, because it was just Roddy McDowell constantly interrupting himself to go boom shakalaka. And he was a really good Joker, actually. If you know Batman the Animated Series, obviously you know he was a fantastic Mad Hatter. Genuinely, truly brought Shakespearean level quality to a cartoon character who was obsessed with a woman. And it was awesome. But his Joker was actually hella good. Listening to him perform Jack Nicholson's part was genuinely very entertaining. And he had a great laugh, too. Roddy always had an excellent villain laugh at his disposal. So no, seriously, like if you're ever, they should have gotten Prince to read that part.
Yeah, so anyway, the Joker, he waltzed into the building, and he was playing my music, and, Purple Rain.
I'm sounding more like MJ. I'm sorry, I don't really remember exactly how Prince sounded. No, Michael Jackson just reads Batman 89. It's like,
So Bruce, like, he was really trying hard to communicate with Vicky, but he's just so insecure.
I'm sorry, I know that was cursed, but no, I am completely for real. Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds. Lawrence! Yes. But I am genuinely for real. It was a very entertaining time, and it's pretty short too. Like I said, it's an abridged version of the adaptation in the book, so I don't think it runs more than like 90 minutes. So it's a fairly swift listen for an audiobook. So yeah, if you ever just feel the mood strike you, and if it's still on YouTube, because for all I know they might have struck it by now. Hold on, let me actually check that real quick, just for funsies, to make sure that I'm not promising you something. I'm an audiobook, Roddy McDowell. Nope, it's still there. It's still there. There's 2 different versions of it that pop up right away. Maybe 3. Yeah, there's 3 different versions of it that pop up on YouTube immediately when you type in Batman audiobook Roddy, Roddy. And it's the whole thing. It's an hour and a half, like I said. So there you go. For any of you that actually do bother, and if you enjoy it, you're welcome. But I love bizarre little pieces of media history like that. It's immensely fun, and I love comparing audiobooks, specifically movie novelizations to their film counterparts. It's always been something I've loved a lot. So it's just that extra little bit of the layer of random enjoyment. It's like, well, this is a thing that exists. Like, yeah, you obviously always remember the movie the best, and we'll go back to it the most, but just listening to a Hollywood icon like Roddy McDowell reading a Batman book is so incredibly enjoyable. So, see, that's something I love about Burton Batman films. They're serious, but not afraid to act silly. I miss when Batman was allowed to be fantastical. Like Poison Ivy or Man-Bat. I love the Batman, but it's way too grounded in realism for my tastes. Yeah, there is a very difficult line in the world of Batman between grounding itself too hard versus embracing the fantastic, because Batman has almost always embraced the insane and the fantastic to some degree. And yeah, well, some of the best stories ever may just be the more traditional detective noir kind of stuff as well. Like, inescapably, Batman's lore requires and involves the fantastic as well, because you've got Clayface, you've got mutations like the Man-Bat, you've got metahumans, you've got the Lazarus Pit, you've got aliens, you've got just all that otherworldly stuff, and different. They can go overboard with it. Like, I prefer Batman in Gotham and not constantly dealing with aliens, but at the same time, I agree completely that removing the fantastical, it'd be like if Christopher Nolan had made a movie with Mr. Freeze and he was just a guy that I don't know, was just really emotionless and maybe blasted people with not cryogenic, but maybe like that kind of cryogenic, but that why am I blanking so hard? Just that freezing gas vapor stuff that they use in industry to spray machinery and freeze it. I feel so dumb right now. Yeah, I like the Batman, but it's so deep in realism that him gliding off the roof, hitting a sign, rolling off the street and survive took me out of it. Yeah, liquid nitrogen. Thank you, Darth Lord. Holy frick, I feel stupid. Liquid nitrogen. Yeah, it'd be like if Nolan had made a Mr. Freeze who just like went up to people with a pepper spray can full of liquid nitrogen, and that was as close to the character as they got. But yeah, the squirrel, the flying squirrel suit from The Batman. Like, I don't hate that movie at all. Like, I actually do enjoy most of it quite a lot. But the flying squirrel suit absolutely is the part I think back on the most as one of the stupidest things about that movie. And yes, I know it's year 1, year 3, whatever you want to call it, Batman in his younger days. But come on. Come on, man. The flying squirrel suit was... yeah. Anyway. So, I like a good balance between the fantastical and the grounded noir detective material, but that's why the animated series and some of the best media adaptations are loved as much as they are, is because they figured out where that balance lies. When I think of liquid nitrogen, I think of 80s Ironhide. 80s Ironhide. Okay, I do not remember G1 Transformers well enough to remember liquid nitrogen involved with Ironhide. Let him have a cave for a lair. It really annoys me that the Batcave was just a garage. Agreed. Yeah, like something at least a little bit more evocative of the Batcave, even if they're not going to go full Batcave in the first movie. But no, forgive me if I've forgotten. The Arkham games is the sweet spot for me, but I also love Burton's aesthetic on Batman. I agree. The Arkham games were absolutely made with that balance in mind of, we want to have some Batman the Animated Series, we want to have some Nolan, we want to have some Burton, we want to have some comic book, we want to have just everything thrown into a huge blender, and it actually tastes really, really damn good when it comes out the other end. That sounded weird, but you get what I mean. It's just, they did a fantastic job paying their respects to every nook and cranny of the franchise very, very well. And that is part of the reason why I do love those games a lot. And one of these days, when I feel a little bit more confident to do so, and when I can get a controller that I can plug into my computer, I genuinely would like to revisit the Arkham games on stream, because it has been a long time since I've played those. Like, I probably played Arkham Knight, I want to say like 6 years ago. Like, it was, I don't remember exactly when it came out, but it was definitely within the first couple years after it came out, so it has been a hot minute. Ironhide always has liquid nitrogen for any situation, especially redecorating Decepticon HQ. Okay, I absolutely forgot that. My apologies. I do own all of G1, funny enough, and I have watched all of it, but I was a very casual Transformers fan, like, of any of the shows. Like, my favorite... Man, I need to stop saying like. I'll make a swear jar with the word like on the side. That'll be my punishment. That'll get me out of it. But my favorite Transformers media was Prime. I loved that show. Even though at first I was put off by the CG and the style of the characters and the fact that the cast was so small for the bots. It didn't take very long, but I fell in love with that show, and it ended up having my favorite versions of several characters, including Optimus and RC. So the one and Beast Wars. I did really love Beast Wars back in the day. Sometimes I excite myself thinking about what a Burton take on Poison Ivy would have been like. Dude, that would have been a fascinating spin, because, like, on the one hand, damn it, I said it again. on the one hand, it's possible he might have strayed a little too close to Michelle Pfeiffer, crazy girl, Poison Ivy, or Catwoman territory. But on the other hand, if he could have done it right, his idea of a fanatical, short-sighted, just killer woman who is that fanatical about her beliefs kind of thing, broken woman, like he could have really done a fascinating job with it with the right direction. But on the other hand, I don't know if he would have. It's hard to say. I mean, it's all conjecture, of course, and obviously he did have a plan because he said he did. He talked about on the Blu-ray set how he had a pitch for his Batman 3, which I'm assuming would have also included the Riddler, considering he did go on to executive produce Forever. But it would have been really interesting. Transformers fans watch Prime mostly to glaze over Knockout. I guess I'm glad I'm not really in the fandom because Knockout was funny, and I do like Jeff Bennett, but that is not the first thing that I remember when I think about that show. No, not at all. Excuse me, I'll take a drink. But we all kind of have our fan casting that we really enjoy when we're in a fandom. Just somebody who in our brains would be absolutely perfect for a particular role. And during the Nolan era, I was pitching really hard that they have more minor villains, just even if they were only going to show up for a scene or two, just to show Batman doing street level stuff and taking out some minor bad guys as kind of a warm-up act before the other villains. And I honestly think that would have been really helpful in Dark Knight Rises, to sort of have something along those lines. Just instead of Batman retiring or completely going inactive for the entire time, I think it actually would have been cool if they'd shown that he was still trying to fight crime from the shadows, and just thrown in some little throwaway villains. Because one that I was all over that I think would have been fantastic would have been Timothy Spall as the Mad Hatter. And if you're not familiar with him by name, Timothy Spall is a British actor who played he was Ron Weasley's rat in the Harry Potter movies when he turned human. Just the creepy little Voldemort servant. I don't remember his name because I'm not a big Harry Potter guy, but he's just a really strong British character actor who I've really liked for a long time. And I thought he would have made a great little throwaway Mad Hatter just for Batman to swoop in, kick his ass, and then Batman gets tired and Bane swoops in and does the whole Nightfall thing and kicks his ass because Batman's exhausted himself, getting old, and fighting other characters. I was thinking if the Burton movies kept going, Christopher Lee as Hugo Strange. Dude. I mean, yeah, Christopher Lee and Burton obviously ended up having... mostly familiar with him in Sweeney Todd. I didn't remember him being in Sweeney Todd, but I haven't seen Sweeney Todd in like 15 years. But he's also in Sweeney. Okay, so yeah, that's definitely a thing then. Because yeah, I haven't seen that movie in so long, I didn't even remember Spall was in it. So, alright, fair enough. So you know exactly who I'm talking about. But I would have loved to have seen him as a Mad Hatter. I know a lot of fans in the 90s wanted Robin Williams to be the Riddler or the Joker, which unfortunately the studio dicked Robin Williams over on the Joker. He was Alan Rickman's henchman. Excuse me. All right. Oh, you're right. You are absolutely right. Wow, memories are unlocking in real time here. It doesn't help that I am a small-brained dinosaur who forgets things far more often than I would care for. But no, you are correct. I completely forgot about that. But yeah, Timothy Spall, he would have been great. I'm trying to think. I remember having others at the time who I thought would have been great. There was supposedly they were going to cast Jeff Goldblum in the late 90s as Scarecrow. That supposedly was on its way to happening until Warner Brothers just said, nah, screw Schumacher, we're done making Batman movies with him. Which, understandable given what happened, but imagine Patrick Stewart as Mr. Freeze, which he would have done if Arnie hadn't won the role. Honestly, that would have been fascinating, and I would have loved it. The sad thing is it would have changed history a little too much because now we've just embraced the sheer glorious cheese that is the pun machine of Arnold Schwarzenegger. But I still would have enjoyed very much seeing Mr. Picard taking on the role. The only problem is I have a bad feeling that if Arnold could have been an interesting Bane. Honestly, you're not wrong. My only fear is that if Patrick Stewart had become Mr. Freeze, it might have potentially lost him Professor X, because Fox might have looked at it and been like, no, we don't want anything to do with anybody from that cringe Batman movie. But who knows? I had read Nicolas Cage as Scarecrow, but it's hard to know with the rumor anymore. That would have been good too. I mean, I think the man knows how to strike great balance between commitment to the craft and just being goofy as hell, and I'm always there for it when Nicolas Cage wants to be goofy as hell. Like, honestly. Funny enough, too, you reminded me, there was a trailer a while back. Oops, I am out of music. Doop-de-doo. There was a trailer a while back for my brain again, for a Nicolas Cage Superman animated project that supposedly was happening, and they released a trailer and everything, and it was going to have Brainiac, and Nicolas Cage was voicing his canceled Superman character, but God knows what happened to that, because that was like a couple of years ago now. And see, I remember hearing it was Howard Stern being eyed for Scarecrow, but I have a hard time believing that. Me too, because, like, I feel in retrospect or with time, people kind of got more accustomed to Howard Stern, and so they don't really treat him with the same shock that they used to. But at the time, in the 90s, he was way more controversial of a figure, and I would be stunned if that actually was something that they would have taken seriously. A lot of fans wanted to see Johnny Depp play the Riddler in Nolan. Yes, I do remember that. And honestly, I would have been okay with that. There's a graphic novel. It was a Joker graphic novel that came out around the time of The Dark Knight. And by some weird coincidence, the Joker at least the artist said it was a coincidence, but by some interesting coincidence, the Joker in that graphic novel ended up looking a lot like Heath Ledger. And I'm pretty sure that the artist was also basing some of the other characters on fan casting for the other villains, I think based on what the fans kind of wanted to see, because I'm pretty sure the Riddler in that graphic novel was designed to look like Johnny Depp. That's my belief just from studying the artwork, but that's my contention and I'm sticking to it. Dooba-dooba-doop. But, my brain. I had a trail of thought, and like Big Boy in the Dick Tracy movie. Oh, it's gone. The thought is gone. I am a doofus, and that is a hard fact you can take to the bank. Oh boy. But yeah, just boy, I guess we were okay. Yeah, we were talking about the fan casting stuff, but unfortunately, Batman has been delayed now until 2028. Ta-da! It's gone. Yep. I love that line. That's like that is one of my biggest laughs every time I watch Dick Tracy. I love that bit because I'm like, perfectly relatable, sir. I absolutely know what you are experiencing. Because I also have a dumb brain that struggles to keep track of what the hell I'm saying. But unfortunately, yeah, the Batman has been delayed until 2028, which I think is a very bad move because the worst thing you can do with a reasonably successful movie is to delay the sequel by roughly 6 years. So they're going to have to put up with that. Okay, that is way too dark. I'm going to start with a base of sort of an icy blue here, and then we'll make it a little bit more pearly white. But oh, by the way, the suit was that way. That's such a big gap between Batman releases. Yes, very big and probably ill-advised gap. And there's probably weird studio reasons for it because of the Gunverse going on. That's my guess. By the way, the suit wasn't cheap. You ought to know you bought it. Yeah. By the way, you should know you bought it. I have a funny story about that. The Dark Knight theatrical showing, which I'm going to derail myself again, but who cares? It's a good story. So, back in the day, obviously, midnight showings were much more of a thing than they seem to have become now. They just kind of do like preview night now, where you just go on Thursday at a more reasonable time rather than going to a midnight show. But we used to go to midnight shows all the time. Like, I really enjoyed the experience of going with a first showing crowd to a midnight performance of a movie. And we went to the Dark Knight, and it was packed. And there was this really, really big Latino dude sitting next to me. And weirdly enough, for like the first 15, 20 minutes of the movie, man wasn't having it. He was not happy with the movie. He thought it was boring. And he was grumbling next to me. He was just like, man, this shit's not fun, man. This is boring stuff. You better get better soon, man. And I was just kind of like, man, hard to please. Sheesh, I'm engaged, but whatever. Shortly after that little complaint was when the Joker drove the guy's head through the pencil, or the pencil through the head, however you want to look at it. And the audience, of course, all gasped in shock, terror, and laughter to some degree, because it is a funny bit. But the Latino guy next to me was like, "Oh shit, man!" Like, he lost his shit, and suddenly he was quite invested, and he did not breathe another peep for the rest of the movie, because apparently it finally did something to please him, and he was now locked in. So, you never know, I guess. Just what the gateway is for somebody to just finally enjoy an experience. But there you have it. Like, I'm sure he would have eventually gotten on board anyway, once the more Joker-intensive scenes continued and whatever. But I was just like, man, we made it through the bank heist and all the build-up to Joker's meeting with the mob, and this dude is bored? What the hell kind of stuff does he watch at home? Because I was thoroughly entertained. Can't please everybody, I guess. But yeah, the Batman's going to take quite a while. Oh yeah, because getting back on stuff that I am genuinely looking forward to at the end of the year. Just the given being -0, but the Clayface trailer was good. The Clayface trailer has got what it's got on the current topic of conversation, I guess. But they released the I Play Rocky trailer this last week, and that was solid. That was a good-ass trailer. Dent Two-Face is great in the movie too, but Joker really just steals the whole show. Yeah, agreed. And I think they did their best with Dent. Aaron Eckhart wouldn't have been my first choice for the character, but he did well for that interpretation of the character. I'm not going to fault him for that at all. You know, to bring up something actually related to Shimo, I think she could be a great template to reinterpret Abaras from Ultraman, make him and Vanilla Fire and Ice-themed monsters. Interesting. I unfortunately have to defer to your greater knowledge of the Ultra franchise, Darth, because you say those names, and unfortunately I still cannot place them in my head, because I'm just not intimate enough with the Ultraman franchise. But wow, I cannot focus tonight. Like it always feels kind of wrong to some degree that I'm not more familiar with Ultraman, because it is just such a mainstay. I'm gonna swap over here a sec. Doo-ba-doo-ba-doo-ba-doo. There we go. But Ultraman is just such a fixture in the tokusatsu world that there's always that little part of me that feels kind of lame and a little guilty that I don't... Lame and a little guilty that I don't know it better or haven't exposed myself to more of it, but it's kind of the One Piece dilemma. I balk at it every time I see the size, and I'm just... That fear I always have is like, well, I watched one show and I liked it. I should watch all of them, and then it's like, there's so many damn shows and I gotta invest. Though that's kind of silly of me to say, because I did watch Ultraman Max and I really did enjoy that. But I'm also a little biased because I really, really love Heisei era tokusatsu. So, you know. I will at least someday finally finish the original Ultraman, Ultra Q. I do also own Ultra 7. I will finish those. Like, on my honor, I will finish those shows. Because I did watch, I did go to theaters to see the Shin Ultraman movie. Again, because my little brother is a huge fan of the franchise, and he definitely wanted to see it. I wanted him to be able to enjoy it. But, I have failed in my kaiju fandom, I guess. I just never invested. I was too afraid, man. I was too afraid. But, herp. Oh, yes. So, but the upcoming movies. We got Clayface. Masters of the Universe, by the way, is out on Prime today. So, again, I thought it was a fun time. So if by any chance you just want to see if it was worth the hype of the 10 of us that saw it in the theater, because I think that's about all the money it made. I thought at least it was a charmingly good time. Maybe actual Masters of the Universe fans would disagree with me on that, because they would have more reason to legitimately be critical than I am. But I thought it was enjoyable. But the Rocky trailer, the I Play Rocky trailer, that honestly got my attention. I really enjoyed that. That got me a little hyped, because during the pandemic, I became a Rocky Balboa fan, like a legit, genuine, enthusiastic Rocky Balboa fan, and I love the films now, and just they meant a lot to me, especially going through them during COVID, and some days just not having much more to do than just be on my treadmill and watch them. I have to call it night, unfortunately, but I've enjoyed the conversation and the art. Just realized my username is different here. I'm Jeffrey on Facebook. Okay. Got it. Makes Jeff Doughboy. Well, thank you. I appreciate you so much for popping in. Like, legitimately, it just makes it so much more worthwhile to have people to talk to. and just, yeah, hope to hang in more streams in the future. No, thank you, sir. I appreciate you greatly popping in, and I will be happy to have you. You have an awesome night. Now, see, I loved Heath Ledger's Joker, but his performance has been way too influential in adaptations of Joker since. They try to make him more realistic as a psycho. When was the last time he was actually funny? He doesn't find disturbing things funny. He makes disturbing things funny. Yeah. Like, I think by and large that is accurate. That is an accurate assessment, and typically the best approach to the character, though maybe with a few exceptions depending on the story, but overall you're right. And it's kind of, I liken it to the way that Hollywood and systems within Hollywood always overcompensate. So, for example, some of the most recent movies that came out in this last movie watching season were 2 low-budget horror films that were created and starred, or 3 actually, I guess, if you count Iron Lung with Markiplier. But they always take the wrong lessons away from success stories. They see a success like Iron Lung or Obsession or The Backrooms, and they say, oh, there's the secret formula we need to follow. We just need to hire some influencers and have a cheap budget and adapt some online creepypasta lore or video game horror lore, or, something in that ballpark. And it doesn't matter how much thought or real effort we put into it. Just that's what's popular, that's what's going to make us money no matter what, etc. It's kind of what happened with the MCU. They started becoming mega hits, and the industry as a whole said, comic book movies, interconnected comic book movies, and things of that nature. That's what'll constantly be printing money, right? Yeah, right. Well, it's not that simple. They actually have to strike all of the right notes, and they have to have deeper reasons why they are loved and popular. It's not just because they exist. So, in a sense, that's kind of what happens with characters like the Joker. He gets a really hit runaway appearance, or a character gets a hit runaway thing, like what happened with The Dark Knight and the Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie, and they say to themselves, yep, this is our cash cow. This is what's going to be permanently successful. There's no way that this is not going to, fade, and it's not going to bomb even within the next movie like Joker 2 did, because they always read the wrong lessons. Heath Ledger's Joker wasn't great because he was just the more grounded take on a psychopath. It was because the story and the interpretation were interesting, they were fresh, his performance was exciting as the character. But yeah, they're going to say to themselves, well, that's all we have to do from now on is just make the Joker what we perceive the public wants out of it, and that'll be safe. We won't have to work any harder than that. Nope, that's not how it works. So they're probably not going to learn their lesson. Like they've really not learned their lesson much with the comic book stuff, and just kind of see how that's gone. And people are now moving on to new things. They're moving on to these more independent kinds of projects. And example, poisoning people by tainting beauty products, horrific. Announcing it by making a commercial for it and call it Smilix, hilarious. Yeah. Different eras of Joker writing, and definitely some Nicholson did influence later incarnations. Like, it wouldn't be accurate to say that he didn't, but they still, to me anyway, stayed very neatly within the overall realm of what makes the Joker. Because, I mean, frick, even in The Killing Joke, he still has a lot of, still enough of that zaniness left, even though he's being much more dark, broody, introspective, etc. But yeah, just Hollywood tends to be. To me, Hollywood is like an ambulance chasing lawyer. Just one of those shady lawyers that he doesn't wait for the right reasons to take on a client and to do something. He chases around ambulances and finds something that he thinks will work to make big bucks off of. That's how Hollywood feels to me, like somebody, like a dog chasing cars. Just thinking all they have to do is just chase a trend. And yeah, that works sometimes, and it paid off for the MCU for over 10 years, but every trend dies. And that's what I was saying to people when He-Man came out and He-Man died. We are as far removed now, when the He-Man movie bombed, we are as far removed at this point from Masters of the Universe's premiere in the 1980s, and when Masters of the Universe was in its heyday, as Masters of the Universe in the 80s was removed from the heyday of the Western being a box office domination. And that's just all there is to it. Like, the Western died, that trend no longer dominated the American box office, and He-Man is no longer in his prime. He is no longer a point of culture for young people and the people who dominate the box office in terms of making it successful. Because the majority of people, just statistics prove, the majority of people who go to movies are young people. They're teens to late 20s, early 30-ish. You know, it's younger people. And I'm sorry, but younger people, and especially Zoomers, don't care about He-Man. Speaking of lawyers, I've been watching Perry Mason lately and enjoying it. It kind of surprises me that there was a time where a show could respect lawyers, since most 90s lawyers have been at the butt end of shady jokes. Yeah. I mean, I can only speculate on that, but I think Liar Liar did a good job kind of shedding a little light on that problem. But I have never actually watched Perry Mason. I have watched some movies that Raymond Burr was in, but I've never actually watched his great, iconic role. You know, obviously outside of where kaiju fans appreciate him for Steve Martin, but you know, just kind of solid, classic Hollywood greatness. Just, you know, commanding that commanding presence, combined with just excellent vocal. Is vocality a word? Vocal quality. Just a stern, stoic, but still appealing personality. Yeah. And he had a good sense of humor, from what I've gathered. But I've never actually watched Perry Mason, so back to what you were saying. I've thought about this and realized how much I love sci-fi. If I was born in the 40s, I probably would have been a Western fan. Yeah, I mean, no matter what, we are beholden to our time, and so you see the things that you're able to see that's new, and it's far more common for people to basically do two things. They just either absorb the entertainment of their time, or they stick to the entertainment of their youth, of their past, their nostalgia. And sometimes they mingle those, but not a lot of people will go out of their way to treasure hunt for older things, because Western and sci-fi aren't as different as you might think. No, I can see that. I mean, they combined extremely well in Star Wars, because ultimately it's still villains, it's still law and order, it's still surviving against elements and threats and whole bunch of other factors. So no, I dig it. Hold the phone a second. Sorry. Oh, what in the heck? Apologies. I'm having a little technical difficulty here. Okay, weird. I actually have to. I have a 2 monitor setup, and I, believe it or not, I actually have to swap over to my second monitor because for some reason I have a weird problem with my setup where the tablet that I use for the artwork sometimes decides to switch which monitor it wants to be on, and I have no idea why. Huh. How weird. So forgive me a moment while I recalibrate, and now it's swapped back to the other monitor. Mother fricker. Okay. Pardon, sorry. We'll get things back in order here shortly. But are we good? Okay, we're good again. I am not enough of a tech head to know how to overcome some of those little difficulties. So I apologize. Alright, I'm a head off now. Thanks for streaming. I'll try to catch the next one too. Thank you, Darth. I appreciate you greatly for popping in. Hopefully, next time we gather together, there will be less depressing news in the news sphere, and we'll have a little bit more fun to share. Maybe we'll get another -0 teaser or something cool. But thank you for popping in. I appreciate you. Oh, where's my brush not working? There we go. Alright, let's give this girl some glowy glow a little bit. I love Shimo. Like, I know, I'm more than aware of the fact that New Empire causes a lot of contention in the fandom. You got the people who love her, you got the people that hate her, you got people that disavow the MonsterVerse films in general as just lame American popcorn entertainment. And look, they are definitely made to be more popcorny entertainment than the current trend in Japanese kaiju. However, I also love me some good kaiju cheese and some fun monsters, because I grew up on the Showa era, man. My jam is still largely the WWE, but with kaiju style entertainment. So for me, New Empire didn't really do anything wrong. And again, like mentioned earlier, unfortunately now it does have the extra sad weight of the passing of Kaylee Hoddle, but I'm also glad that she was in it and that we can go back and revisit and enjoy seeing her character whenever we want. And thankfully, due to that role, she will be remembered very well. So that does make me happy. But derp. I still love New Empire a lot. It's not perfect by any stretch, but I do enjoy it. And sorry, I was just trying to decide if we want to go more brown or more grayish green on our boy here. See how this looks. But I love Shimo. I know a lot of fans complain because they thought that she was a disappointment compared to the hype and the build-up of her. But I love quadruped kaiju. I love dinosaurian kaiju more than any of the other creatures in the Toho or MonsterVerse roster. I do. So the fact that she's just a big, icy, pretty blue quadruped dinosaur puppy who is very much misunderstood or, abused, like Scar King being some sort of a dickwad animal abuser, and she got to have her revenge in the end. I just kind of love it, and I love her just being a big icy dinosaur. So to me, I forgive a lot of sins of the new Empire movie just because I really, really do enjoy Shimo a lot. I'm not as big on the monkeys. I've always kind of said that, but I don't enjoy ape kaiju as much as things on the lizard and reptile side. Probably for obvious reasons. I mean, look at me. But I do enjoy the film a lot. Before I forget, so back on the what's coming out side, yes, I am looking forward to the Rocky film. That could be really good. But one of my subordinates was asking me this week, so are you looking forward to Avengers Doomsday and going out to see that in the theater? And I was like, I really am not. Like, again, it's difficult to make time to go to the theater and the money and travel and everything else. But if I'm going to go see a movie in December and take the time, the effort, and the money to go see a movie on the big screen in December, if the choice is between Doomsday and Dune Part 3, I want to see Dune. Like, at this point, I am far more invested in going out to see the conclusion of this adaptation of Dune. And yeah, I know that they've made some apparently pretty hefty changes to the story, primarily with Chani. I mean, you can tell that from the trailers alone, not much less, how they ended the last one. But to me, the bigger and more exciting event that I want to see on the big screen, honestly, is Dune, because those have been so enjoyable on the big screen, just between the visuals and the sound and just the epic scale of them. They are served so very well on the big screen format. So that's just honestly where my priorities are for going to see anything on the big screen in December. Godzilla's in November, Dune in December, friggin' I already said it, Clayface, Street Fighter in October. Like, the end of the year, honestly, I'm really liking how it's shaping up. I dig it. And I hope they're all good. They may not all be. The jury is always out until you check them out, but I'm actually encouraged by the roster of stuff coming out at the end of the year, because it hasn't been a whole heck of a lot so far this year that's really driven me to want to leave the house and go to a theater. It's not me saying that everything that comes out is just trash. I'm not that much of a jerk, but I am very, very picky, and a lot of people kind of have to be pickier these days with what they go out to see. So you want to at least hope that what you're going out of your way to watch is going to be good and make it worth the time and the investment. So yeah, I'm actually encouraged by the hopeful seeming quality of what's coming out at the end of the year. Oh, because, again, not getting Batman for a hot minute, and I don't remember when the next Ninja Turtles theatrical outing is going to be. I want to say 2027, and I wasn't the biggest fan of Mutant Mayhem. It was okay, but I'll still go see it. I still love my Turtle Boys, regardless of how strong or weak I think a particular iteration of the franchise is. I mean, frick's sake, you're talking to a guy who still will watch Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation, for crying out loud. And that show is not peak, let's just put it that way. But I still enjoy it, and I still get enjoyment out of it. So, yeah. Shaping up to be an interesting conclusion to the year. I'll just say that much. I might have gone to Toy Story 5, but I'm all right. I do love the Toy Story franchise, but I've kind of gotten to that point in my life where I'm just like, if I miss it, it's too bad. But I also pay for Disney Plus every month, so might as well just. They'll get my money one way or the other, so I'll just deal with it. But some things, the big screen experience is still optimal and is ideal. So I would like to at least check out Dune Part 3 and take that in the way that it was intended. There we go. Our boy be looking cute, if I do say so myself. Whoops, I forgot to finish the tail spikes. There you go, boy. But yeah, my wife was kind of gushing over this sketch when we did it at G-Fest. When I was just doodling it up, and I was like, all right. It is the favorite, I see. So yes, we shall make this one some material for the stream. Because hey, if it's got the Mrs. Stegman stamp of approval, that clearly means that I did something right. That if she was gushing that hard over it in general. So I'm you know, I know how to listen to my audience and my missus. But I did like it. It's silly. It's cute. And it kind of goes along very nicely with the fact that I was watching Godzilla Land, the the educational anime that Toho put out in the 90s, where little chibi-fied versions of the cast are teaching each other how to read and count. So that being the case, yeah, it just felt appropriate to do something in this vein, something a wee bit adorable, something a little cute, something a little sweet, and what's sweeter than my man Angus over here, just taking a little time off from being the Big G's #1 bodyguard and bona fide best friend to, you know, hitting the Dayton scene a little bit, trying to see what it's like out there on the I was going to try and make like a Tinder joke, but it didn't work with the word kaiju. Grinder? No, not grinder. Yeah, just I love chibis. I love silly, cute little caricatures. I mean, I've done plenty of my little clay figurines have been in chibi style because they're not only cute, but they are also way easier to do. So that is how we do in this case, because it really sells the whole ooh cutesy little buddy trying to gather up his courage and say hi to the big girl. And yes, she be a big girl. I mean, I'm sure if I was actually making an attempt to keep it within scale, as so many kaiju fanboys I have learned are obsessed with monitoring the scale of kaiju, and yeah, she would be even bigger. Because our boy here didn't tend to get much bigger than the 50-meter scale ballpark from the Showa era. I don't remember how big he is in Final Wars, but I think that was still supposed to be in the 50 to 60 meter tall ball. I don't know, because it doesn't really bother me that much. I'm not really asked to remember the exact height of every single kaiju, just the generalities of it. Alright. He was a lot easier to color. Oh, but speaking of Toho media, I know I said I don't really get around to watching as much stuff as I would like, but unfortunately we can also throw some Toho media on there because they have now released the remake Human Vapor project on Netflix. And the Human Vapor is one of my all-time favorite non-Godzilla Toho properties. So I'm very intrigued to see what they do with a reimagining and a reinterpretation of that particular story, because the original Human Vapor came out in 1960. That thing is old. That thing is old as the hills. That thing has multiple grandchildren by this point. But somebody actually said, hey, I am interested in doing a redo of the Human Vapor in the year of the big 2026. So that got my interest. And I am really, really hoping that it is good. Because if it is not, that just greatly crushes my hopes, because again, Human Vapor is one of my favorite Toho properties. It's very under-known by a lot of modern kaiju fans because it's never been officially released on DVD over here. It saw a VHS run back in the olden ancient times. That's been pretty much it. Other than if you know how to use archive.org. So, hoping it's good, and I'm hoping to give it a check out here pretty quick, but may not be for a hot minute. Maybe by the weekend. We'll see. I will make an attempt for the weekend. But if not, all I care about is just giving it its proper due to enjoy. And that should be the main motivating factor. Just a little bit of enjoyment. Alright. Gonna put on a soft layer here to sell the light effect a little bit better. I'm really happy that my tablet is having better signal than I kind of have for the last several times I've used it, because yeah, I don't know why it struggles so much sometimes. Maybe it's just getting old, but there are times when the tablet just does not want to cooperate super well. Right now, it's actually doing pretty good. Maybe it's because I'm trying to teach myself how to not press in so dang hard on the pen. It's definitely something I'm guilty of. Yeah. I think for our intents and purposes, all I really have left, which is excellent given the state of the clock, is to just put on a few extra bits of shade and some little highlights, and I think we can call it pretty good. thick enough? Hold on. Always an experiment, and it's always a little adventure. Any of these little projects. There we go. There we go, buddy. Now he's got some shade. Good man. Good little man. I don't know. Anguirus is just awesome anyway. But just something about this damn little cutesy-wootsy puppy face just kind of kills me, and I love it. He's just a little dude. Look at this dude. Look at this little dude. He's just a little guy. He's just trying to get some courage up to say hi to the big girly kins over there. He's like, you're cute. You're cute. Oh, would you mind going on a date? You know, I don't know. I'm weird. I find it adorable. It's like people were shipping Godzilla and Mothra left and right after King of the Monsters 2019 came out. So I'm giving Anguirus the ability to make a little time, you know? Just give our boy here a chance. Thank you, Sonic. I appreciate it. It's just satisfying to do something off the beaten path. Because admittedly, I haven't quite gotten back into the swing that I should be with Godzilla Triumphant. I feel stupid about that. It is going to happen, but just kind of fell off the boat a little bit. And the more kaiju artwork I actually do finish, or just anything that's particularly enjoyable, is one step in the right direction to at least get me back to doing what I promised myself I was going to do, which is finishing Godzilla Triumphant pages. Yeah. But overall, just a cute little guy. And Shimo is also adorable. In that big lizard puppy kind of way. And I get that that's why a lot of fans were very, it seems, vocally at least, they were unhappy with the character because they're like, no, she was touted as a world-ending force of nature. They can't just turn it around and make her a big cute puppy dog. That's lame. She was supposed to be a super legitimate threat for Godzilla and whatever. I'm just like, okay. I mean, if you want to call it false advertising, which I don't think it really was, that's fine. You can have that opinion, but I would still much rather have the ending we did, where she got to join on Team Kong. That is not what I meant to do. I was just happier that she got to be on Team Kong, man, and be on the good guy's side. Is that so wrong? Is that so wrong? I don't think so. I mean, I hope that she shows up again, as I'd like to think that they're going to, continue to pay attention to their continuity and make sure that she at least is acknowledged and pops up at least once. Tell you what, man, there are times when being a fan even of the MonsterVerse, which theoretically should have a tighter continuity, it's just funny how they kind of brush some things aside and forget about them every so often. Godzilla and Mothra in America, I love you. Godzilla and Mothra in Japan, I'm gonna freaking kill you. By and large, you're not wrong. With only a few exceptions, yeah, that kind of is the way to steal a line from a famous Mandalorian. But that too was quite amusing to me when all that happened, because kaiju fans, like fans of any genre, get weirdly tribal for some of the weirdest reasons, and the fact that the whole Mothra and her boyfriendo Godzilla became a point of contention that particular year, kind of amused me to no end, though it also was obnoxious as crap. But fans are gonna fan, I guess. Excuse me. Do we expect any less? But hey, I'm just here. I'm wingmanning for my boy Anguirus because, I mean, look at that. Look at that cute little dude. He needs a little, he needs a little push out the door. He needs somebody to be like, "Yo, brother, you got this. Just don't keep your feelings hidden. Tell her exactly how you feel. And if it is destined to be, she will reciprocate your affections." Whatever. I feel like I'm getting off on a weird tangent, but whatever. Dun, 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 dun. But I love this little dude. I think a lot of kaiju fans, I mean, anybody definitely clings a little extra hard to the introductory movies or things that they knew when they were a young fan or a fresh fan or whatever. And for me, just the fact that Gigan was my first Godzilla film and Anguirus was such a big part of that absolutely influenced my affections for our little doggo here. But even so, he's just such an awesome little guy. So I love any excuse I can come up with to do up some Anguirus art. And Rodan and any of my other favorites. Because they're just too fun, man. What's the point of being a fan if you can't, have a little extra fun with the characters? Reinterpret them your own way a little bit and pay them homage. Going French stegosaur for some reason. They're going French homage. But yeah. It's also nice to do something more on this cutesy wootsy side after making the Kaylee Hoddle tribute piece yesterday. I just really wanted something tonight to just put us in a better mood and focus on the positives, because the positives are still there and they still exist. But yeah, just that was a rough little piece of artwork to whip up. I mean, I'm grateful for the fact that people are so attentive and paying their respects and everything, and that means a lot of people saw my effort to contribute to that, but ultimately that's just not what it's about. It's not about peacocking. It's just, I'm glad everybody is joining in and just remembering a sweet life and just coming together on that. I will say, the stupidest thing I saw was an Instagram channel, who I will not name, that decided, oh, what's the best way to honor somebody who's passed? Let's create a whole bunch of garbage-looking AI imagery that doesn't even look like the girl, the person in question, the victim, and make that be our tribute post, rather than just getting a real screen cap or finding real artwork that provides the same thing of the person who was gone. No, we're just gonna put more garbage AI that really does not look like her out there and be like, oh, rest in peace, and aren't we wonderful for putting out this tribute? I'm like, no, you kind of suck. Because instead of honoring the person with a real image, or at least a human-made image, honoring them in artwork, you're just entering a prompt and just pretending like you did something special. And again, I'm not going to name the channel, but I dropped him like a bad habit immediately. I was like, no, this is stupid. You can screw off with that. That's garbage. In my estimation, very disrespectful. But maybe that's just me, and maybe the world doesn't care what I think, and that's fine if the world doesn't care what I think. But I do know what I think is right, and I don't think it is right or respectful to crappily regenerate an image of somebody that does not look like them and then be like, rest in peace, person who this image does not look like whatsoever. Just have some respect, man. Like, I would rather somebody who is not good at art, like necessarily good at art, who's primitive in their work, make a piece, do their best, and offer it, rather than some dumbass chipping in with AI that does not even come close to representing the person. And just be like, oh, there it is, there's my artwork. I'm still working on my piece. Awesome. And yeah, it sucks. It's just, it doesn't feel good to ever make a tribute piece to somebody who has passed, but a lot of times it does still feel very necessary. And I think for those of us in the kaiju art department, it's kind of a way to help ourselves heal a little bit from the loss. Like, obviously our loss is nothing compared to the family. You know, my heart goes out so hard, my prayers as well, to Kaylee's mom, because she went to social media. She took to social media. It was very sad, but at least honor the person with something real and something heartfelt, rather than just giving in to the stupidity of a cheap and easy AI image. Because in the end, that's still better. If you did it in crayon, because that was the best you could do, and it looked like one of those stereotypical pictures in a movie, like a horror movie, of the kid drew herself as a stick figure with mom and dad, and then the monster is standing behind them. But if you just did a cheap, primitive, that's the best you could do image in crayon honoring somebody, that's still better than lousy AI generated nonsense. It still has real heart and human effort behind it. So props to you, Sonic. I'm sad that it was necessitated, but I will look forward to seeing what you have to offer, because that is also just part of how we get through the healing process. As we share our songs, our artwork, those are our means of honoring somebody's life and remembering them and all those excellent things. So I'm glad you're contributing to the effort, because I have already seen some very cool but very heart-rending art tribute pieces, like real art tribute pieces to Kaylee, and yeah, it sucks that it happened at all, but when a real artist brings their A game to pay tribute to someone, it really is kind of special. sometimes it really just is, in a sad way, it's also kind of a spark you need to throw everything into making a piece as good as you possibly can. Just having that extra motivation behind you. So, props to all the artists. Commendations to all the real artists who are paying tribute. And when I saw her mom's Instagram post, I almost lost it. No parent should ever to bury their child. Yeah, no, for real. One of my best friends linked me to a picture, or not a picture, a video earlier of what I believe what I got from the suggestion on the title was that it was actually supposed to be Kaylee singing, like actually singing, and like vocally, and it was just showing her like how well she could in spite of her deafness. And I couldn't click on it yet. It's too soon, man. It's a little too much. Sometime when I'm feeling better, emotionally prepared, but like it was weird and very sad because, and I'm gonna hold on a moment. Let me change up the music here a little bit because I feel like it's a little. There we go. I feel like it's a little too off, but just the night before she died, I was actually going through. I was going through some scenes in Godzilla vs. Kong, looking for some visual inspiration for some other projects I'm working on, and I just paused on a moment of Kaylee in the film, just watching her, even when she was like, whatever she was, like 12, younger? I don't remember how old she was when they filmed Godzilla vs. Kong, but she was so young, but she was still unbelievably talented. And it had to happen on my little sister's 14th birthday too, a life lost during the celebration. Oh, it sucks. I'm sorry, man. Yeah, that is not a fun way that's not a fun thing to have in mind during what's supposed to also be a good day. Because, yeah, like, just watching her work and just being so impressed with how good she was at such a young age and how much more she even brought it in the sequel. And then literally the next day, I get a message from my buddy Cole just saying, oh no, you're not going to believe this. And I'm like, dude, that bites. That absolutely bites. So, I was just watching clips from New Empire last night, just kind of trying to decide what I wanted to do for my tribute piece. And there's no way you just don't cry, man. Like I was shedding them lizard tears. Like it was just like it's just so depressing, and you realize as well, it's like, yeah, you'll never see this simple piece of entertainment the same way again, because now right there in front of you is the sad reminder of what we have lost and what her family lost and what the world lost. And it's just very, very depressing. And from what I do understand, she walked with Jesus. I hope that's true, and that she is enjoying a much deserved and excellent reward for an amazing life, short as it was. But dang, man, just it's not fair and it's not fun, but life is a series of meetings and partings, and that is the way of it. And there are reasons behind every tapestry why the threads are woven in the chaotic way that they are, and we can't see it. And I do like the tapestry comparison. Like, it does suck being on the messy side of the tapestry in life, when you're just seeing all of the chaos and all of the pain and all of the death and everything else that happens, and you just shake your fists sometimes at the heavens, and you're like, why? Why is this the way it is? But then you cross over to the other side of the tapestry, and you look at it, and you're like, damn, wow. Just, I see it now. I couldn't see it when I was on the other side, but it's amazing what has been created on the side of the tapestry that's meant to be seen. And as much as it does suck, that is simply how I have chosen to approach death and tragedy like this, and suffering of other kinds, because, I won't make it into a pity party, but just the people I've known, and in my own case of abuses and things that you go through, and I'm going through therapy, and then you lose people you care about and people you looked up to and you enjoyed in the world, like Kaylee Hoddle. And it's like, damn it, that's not cool. That's not fair. But I do pull myself back and remember this is me looking at the world on this side of the tapestry. And no, it's not fun, but it is the only way that I am allowed to look at it. And I can take a guess at what the tapestry will look like on the other side. I can make some assumptions, but I don't know. And I will never know until I also decide to shed this, decide. That sounds off. Until I do also shed the mortal coil and get to see what the tapestry is like on the other side of it. So, God bless Haley. God bless her family. But in the meantime, all I can do is just pay my respects in the simple, silly way that I can pay respects, which is what I just decided to do with that Kong piece. Tonight, I wanted tonight to be more charming and cute and silly and fun, and I hope that was achieved, and I hope you like this silly little endeavor of mine with some chibi kaiju. I actually finished it for once. Let me throw a little extra onto Shimo here, just for some little glint effects. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. If there were any two kaiju who I definitely just want to see look cute, be cutesified in that anime manner, it's definitely these two. I love these two. They're kind of similar parts of the same coin, in my opinion. But anyway, I think that about wraps it up, though, for the evening. Thank you, Sonic, and thank you, everybody, for joining us and who did join us. Like I said, it was a depressing week, and there's always reasons to be sad if you look too hard at life, but that is why I encourage anybody to, I guess in keeping with the theme of a few minutes ago, if you've ever watched The Prince of Egypt, there's a particularly poignant song in that movie about trying to, instead of looking through our very limited human vision, try to see the potential of the world and yourself and the future and everything else through heaven's eyes, because we are not the ultimate authority in guessing on how things come together in this world. And as frustrating, as depressing as that can be, it also means we have to trust, and we have to trust outside of ourselves, and just in essence have some faith. And there are a lot of days when I lose a lot of faith in whether or not I'm ever going to get past the pain in my skull and my neck, whether or not life is really going to get on track the way I feel like it should, and that things will ever come together the way that it feels like they were supposed to. Sometimes broken dreams happen, and you don't expect that things can get better. To quote old Samwise, it's like, how can anything ever be happy again when so much bad had happened? But ultimately, I'm also, on the flip side, happy that it is not dependent on me to decide. It's not dependent on me to make things work out perfectly. I can do my best. That's all I'm capable of doing. That's all I'm expected to do, and that's all I'm going to have to do. And I can be content with that. And I just try to encourage you to do the same. Just on the suckiest of days, just knowing that sometimes just knowing you're not in charge is the best thing that you can know. That life, you are not in charge of life, and all you are expected to do is your solid best. And if you can be content with that, I think that goes a long way in terms of helping your mental and helping to soothe your heart. And especially during weeks like this, when you lose somebody or you just feel the ache of a loss, that's like, man, that bites. I don't want to have to deal with that reality. Sometimes it really does just help to let go of it and remember that we're not in charge. It's, to me anyway, it's a comforting thought. So I will leave you on that, other than just to say that even though I don't feel that I was particularly funny today, and maybe didn't contribute much humor because it was a little bit too somber of a week, either way, it is still really quite a thrill to try and make people laugh, because no matter what your heartache might have been while laughing for a few seconds, you've forgotten about it. And I personally believe that we were all put here for a purpose, to build and not to destroy. And if someday you're not feeling well and you remember some silly little thing I've said or done and it brings a smile to your face or a chuckle to your heart, then my purpose as your clown has been fulfilled. So until then, thank you everyone again for joining me. It was a good evening, all in all. I rather enjoyed this. I got one more piece I can throw up on the Deviant account, which makes me happy. And I wish you an excellent rest of your evening, and hopefully we will reconvene shortly. Gotcha, Bagoose, and be well.